Welcome back to the channel, Tim. Great to have you here.
Always a pleasure, Chris. And yeah, this is a fun topic. What we're talking about now.
Yeah, because today we're gonna talk about Europe, and this is their first self-titled album released in 1983. So yeah, I think this is a very much forgotten album because people only talk about the final countdown and maybe Out of This World and Wings of Tomorrow, but this one is kind of like a dark horse album in some ways. So yeah, I really do enjoy it. So what do you think overall?
Yeah, this is really cool because I mean, yeah. So I would have been 12 the year that the Final Countdown came out. So like so many other kids my age, this was my introduction to Europe. Those,
Yeah.
we didn't know, we didn't know it was their third album. And then I remember early 1988, I remember stumbling upon this cassette, Wings of Tomorrow, which is still one of my favorite Europe albums. I had read a little bit in some magazines to know that how many albums they had at that point. So that was early 1988. Then, of course, Out of This World comes out. Love that album. And then I think I got a magazine. I found a magazine that was half of it was on Bon Jovi and half of it was on Europe. But the Europe section, that's the first time that I saw a picture of their first album, and this is the original album cover,
Okay, with the band
which is
members.
just a band shot, but it had all the songs listed, so I knew what the song titles were, and I thought, well, okay, but I'm never going to be able to find that. This is long before the internet or anything like that. And then one day, I want to say it was in April or May of 1989, I stumbled into my local record store and I found this. And immediately I knew that, and I looked at the back, read the song titles, and I knew, oh, it's a reissue. They put their first album out. So I bought it right away. And on the inside of it is, you got that's the same photo session, but the original cover, if people haven't seen it, it's just a shot of the four guys. They were very, very young then, like they
Yeah.
very young started. And yeah, it's Wings of Tomorrow is a slightly heavier album, say, than the Final Countdown, Out of This World. Like it's got songs like Scream of Anger and Wasted Time, but this is heavier still. This is a very sort of Iron Maiden influenced, very European sounding album. It's not commercial at all, but I really like it. I love the fact that we've got all these different sounds from these guys. And I think there was a little bit of confusion because it said 1989 as a copyright date on it, but I knew it was actually from 83. And all you have to do is listen to it and know that,
Yeah.
first of all, the production, this is even in the remixed version, the production is very sort of low budget. It's good. It's good recording, but it's not, you could tell this was not Kevin Elson or Ron Nevison producing it, right?
Yeah.
And the songwriting, it just sounds like a first album from a young band. It sounds very much like a new wave of British heavy metal album, But yeah, I've always really liked this album, and it doesn't get enough attention. And I think people would be surprised if they only know Europe from the Final Countdown and Carrie and Superstitious and think of them as more of a pop metal band or whatever. I think they'd be surprised. They'd really be surprised to hear this album, hear how they started.
Yeah. When I first heard the album, I was very shocked because it didn't sound like anything that came after. Maybe a bit of Wings of Tomorrow, but it's very different. And like it doesn't sound anything like the Final Countdown or Out of This World or Prisoners in Paradise or anything like that. So it's very different. And as you said, it sounds like a first album. It definitely does. And this is the version I have, the music
So
on
you
CD version.
Yeah, this is a
And
very old Canadian version I have when the CBS CDs looked like this. I call it the box format. People may have seen my video on it, but
yeah,
I never used to like this. Now I kind of look for these CDs, but this is it's not easy to find. And then a few
yeah,
years ago,
yeah,
I was fortunate to find the vinyl version. Now I don't know where, like for a reissue, I don't know where this cover came from, but I like the cover. It's very regal looking, very official.
yeah,
It's got a cool look to it. But yeah, It is very different. Joey Tempest, his singing is quite different on this. Like here's a good comparison is Def Leppard. If you listen to the way Joe Elliott sings on Through the Night compared to High and Dry just 1 year later, it's very different. Like by High and Dry, you can play that album for someone who's never heard any of the songs on it and go, well, that sounds like Def Leppard. It's heavy, but it sounds like Def Leppard. You could play this album for someone that really knows, Final Countdown, Out of This World very well, and they'll go, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, exactly. So that was actually something I was thinking about too. Like, I almost always compare this to like Def Leppard's first album, because it's kind of like the same development.
Yeah.
Because if you listen to this and compare it to Wings of Tomorrow, Joey Tempest sounds kind of different. Not as drastic as from Wings of Tomorrow to Final Countdown, because that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
But there's still a big difference between his vocal performance on these two albums. I think he developed very much in just a year. And the exact same thing can be said about Joe Elliott, as you said. But I think that difference between On Through the Night and High and Dry is like crazy. It's night and day. It's so different.
I think a lot of it has to do with producers. So by High and Dry, Def Leppard had Mutt Lange working with them in all forms, in songwriting and in performances. And then with the Final Countdown, you had Kevin Elson. So for the first time, they're working with a big name producer.
Yeah.
Whereas this, for a self-titled a self-produced effort, this first album sounds fine. You can hear everything. The instrumentation is good. It's not a harsh listen,
No.
but it's just very, very, very different. And also, Def Leppard is an excellent comparison because even lyrically, because on the first Def Leppard album, you've got, When the Walls Came Tumbling Down, Answer to the Master, and Overture. Lyrically, these were not songs. They never wrote like that again, really.
Yeah.
And because of this album, you've got Seven Doors Hotel and The King Will Return. Like they're sort of like fantasy subjects.
Yeah.
And they didn't really do that after this.
Something very interesting about this album is because it was like conceived, or maybe it was created because Europe won a competition in Sweden called Rock SM. So that basically they won like the Swedish championship in like a rock centered like competition in 1982. So that's very cool that the prize was to record an album.
Yeah.
So that's how this came to be. So that's very cool. And you can actually watch on Europe's YouTube channel that there are like the performances from Rock SM.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So, and those are 1982 clips. So you can see that these songs were like written and already kind of done. So they just went into the studio and recorded it. Maybe some songs weren't written yet, but and most of them are written by Joey Tempest.
Joey Tempest himself. Except, the only one I see that's different is the instrumental Boyazant, which is co-written by someone named
Eddie Meduza.
Eddie Meduza, yeah.
Yeah. And that guy is very interesting because he's super famous in Sweden. He's now long past, but he was kind of a very interesting character. He did like rockabilly type music, and like all the like young people, teenagers love his music because it's very naughty lyrics.
Okay.
Very naughty lyrics. And he obviously sings in Swedish. And it's kind of part of the culture, especially with young people in Sweden. And they always drive around in their cars, like Volvos and stuff like that, with like an enormously big, expensive stereo system in. And they always play that with the windows rolled down. So that's the type of music. And I don't really like it. It's really strange music, but people here in Sweden love it.
Yeah.
And that was like a song. I think it was a demo first. And then, like, because John Norum actually played for Eddie Meduza in like the late 70s and 80s. Yeah. So this was like a demo. So the melody of this Boyazant, or however you pronounce it, the melody, that melody had been like written or recorded by Eddie Meduza, but wasn't used. So that was only like a demo. And then he like approached John Norum and said like, I'm not going to be able to use this, but maybe you can do something cool with it. So then they recorded this song, and yeah. So that is not an original melody made by the Europe guys.
It's interesting that Joey Tempest gets the songwriting credit where there's no lyrics. And if it was kind of written, if anything, you'd think it should be Meduza and Norum credited.
It is.
Oh,
I don't know if you have like an older version.
Oh yeah, no, it is. It is. Yeah, it is. My eyes aren't great. All I could see was the.
So it is John Norum and Eddie Meduza. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So yeah, but starting off in chronological order, the first song, "In the Future to Come," I think just the first note of that song, like, really sets the stage for what is to come. Like, it's super heavy. The riff, the guitar riff is like so heavy. And if you listen to like the opening of the Final Countdown or Out of This World and compare it to the opening of this, it's just so different.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get far into the album to hear like, wow, this is really different from what they became. Very much, much heavier sound. This is really a hard rock album. Maybe, as you said, some in the style of new wave of British heavy metal in some ways.
The twin lead guitar and that gallop. I mean, this could easily be an early Iron Maiden track.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, with the guitar, and it's interesting too because I mean, you only have one guitar. Well, Joey does play guitar, but you've got really you need three guitar players because you've got the twin lead, but you also have the rhythm. So John Norum was obviously double tracking, or you know, a lot of parts, but. It's very regal sounding, and it's very much like an overture.
Yeah,
the big da 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 da, and it's very European sounding. And what I thought was cool too is just you know, diehard Europe fans know this. They were originally called Force. That was the name of the group, but they wanted to change the name. And Joey was listening to Deep Purple's live album Made in Europe.
Made in Europe, yeah,
and that's where it came, which is pretty cool. But yeah, this song is you know. For a bunch of young, like just young guys, like there's so much energy to it, and just the way that you know Joey sings that ow 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 like that first part, and it's very cool. And actually, you know, you mentioned their YouTube channel. I didn't know this for many years. We've talked about that. There's a video for this song. They actually shot a video for the song. Looks like they shot it on a beach, and I think it's hilarious in a good way. You know, it doesn't make any sense. They're walking on a beach, and all of a sudden they just start playing. But it's pretty cool to see like this early footage. But it's got what a great opener, and it's got such a thematic. You know, I guess you could say there is something that, you know, the tie to say the Final Countdown. It's got that recurring theme that comes and goes throughout the song. But yeah, very, very different song. And if I hadn't already heard Wings of Tomorrow, like I said, which has a few songs that are kind of heavier than the Final Countdown, this would have really been a shock. But but I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not sure about how many of these songs have videos, but I know like there is a in studio type video for Children of This Time.
Yes,
and it kind of has an interview also as part of it. And yeah, that's very interesting to see like them in the studio playing. And that's really, they play it live, like in the studio. Yeah. So, and I think that, I don't know, maybe that's not the way it was recorded, like all of it. Maybe Joey was recording his vocals and the other guys were playing like with him instead of having it in the monitors or stuff like that. But because you say John Norum probably double tracked the guitars and it wouldn't have been realistic to play all that live, it wouldn't have worked. But I think some of it maybe was played live because I feel like the album sounds very raw and it sounds like the band played this like just in the studio. It was just captured the way it was.
I think so. And I think that Norum would have gone back and did the leads and then the harmony guitar parts. And backing vocals, all that stuff. But yeah, the basic tracks,
The basic track,
it
yeah.
sounds like they were recorded live in studio. And also,
Yeah.
they were a 4-piece at this time. 3 of the members are still in the band. I mean, Joey Tempest, John Norum, John Levin on bass, but you had Tony Reno on drums. And I think Tony played on Wings of Tomorrow, but by the time it came out, he was replaced by Ian Haglund. But they didn't have a full-time keyboard player yet. Any keyboards on this album that Joey Tempest did. I mean, they were very, very talented right from the get-go. And these are complicated arrangements. These aren't just 3-chord rock songs. There's nothing basic about them. It's very, very well thought out. So for them to be able to do this stuff in a live situation, it's quite something. I mean, I think people probably figured that, okay, this is the kind of band that not only could be big in Sweden, but maybe all over the world.
Yeah. And I think just this effort is it's such an impressive first album. I feel like this and On Through the Night, like really, really good first albums for these bands that became huge later in the 80s. So I think it's just so great. And it's funny to think about like how young they were at this time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exact, but I think Joe Tempest was like 20 or something.
Yeah, he was born in 63,
about my age.
So he would have been 1920. Yeah, so imagine you're with a group of guys similar age, and you're putting these really complex sort of hard rock metal songs together, and you've got a recording contract. Like, it's pretty cool. And really the same thing with Def Leppard. I mean, they were around the same age. I mean, Rick Allen was even younger still, but
he was like 15 or 16.
These were not guys that had been kicking around trying to make it for 10 years.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if there's anything available before this album. Like, I know Def Leppard had like the Def Leppard EP.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Is there anything officially released before this?
I don't think so. The only thing that I can think of that came after that's like an in-between thing is that On the Loose EP that I think came out in 1985. Okay. Which has because there was a movie called On the Loose. So that song actually predates the Final Countdown. But I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if they had they might have had an independent single, but I've never heard tell of anything like that. I'm sure there's diehard fans out there that could tell us, but for songs that, these songs also would have been fairly newly written, I would imagine.
Yeah. The next song, Farewell, I really do enjoy. Kind of different from the first track. I like many of these songs have this like shugging type riff, like the galloping riff. Yeah. And I really do like this one. And some maybe a little small criticism is like it comes to Joey's voice now, that in some of the choruses it sounds kind of flat, his delivery. And I feel the same way in the Wings of Tomorrow album. There are some songs that doesn't hit as hard as they do later, but I do really enjoy these two albums, like Wings of Tomorrow and this one, really, really good. But this really does sound like a very young band. Yeah. It does sound like a first album. Yeah. Joey hasn't developed his voice like he did later. Yeah. So but I do like Farewell. I think it's a really good song. But as I said, I think the chorus is a bit flat, in my opinion.
It doesn't. Yeah, I like it. It's quite a bit more of a basic hard rock song than. Really, it's one of the simpler songs on the album. But to further illustrate that Def Leppard comparison, if you listen to the beginning of this and listen to the beginning of Another Hit and Run from High and Dry, kind of a similar riff, right? I would imagine these guys were all listening to the same types of bands. I mean, both of those bands were close to the same age. They would have loved UFO and Scorpions and obviously Deep Purple, Rainbow, all that stuff, right? So it kind of makes sense. Yeah, it's for a song on a first album. I like it, but they would only get better, obviously. Yeah. But it's fine. It's fine. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Now, Seven Doors Hotel is a classic. It's probably one of the best songs. I do have another favorite, but I think this is the second best track on the album, in my opinion. For most people, it's probably the best one. But yeah, and they played it like they play this song still today live. I've seen Europe twice in concert, and they play this song, and yeah, really, really great. Just love the you have this like almost chanting voices in the beginning.
Yeah.
You have the piano really haunting, and then it just kicks in with the drums and the guitar really aggressive. Just a great, great song. And this song, Joey sounds really, really good.
Yeah,
this
this
is
sounds
one of his best vocal performances in the early days.
Yeah, Joey sounds like the Joey Tempest that most people would know to hear this song. And I guess this song was a big hit in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But talk about ambitious, like almost prog, because it goes through all these changes, you know, and again, very Iron Maiden, you know, with the twin lead, but especially in the middle, that sounds totally like Iron, like, you know, any number of Iron Maiden songs, but very cool. Apparently, this is based on a 1981 horror movie called Beyond.
Yeah.
That's where the lyrical inspiration. But yeah, talk about an ambitious song for such a young band to do. So yeah, I think this is definitely a standout track on here where it's like, whoa, like, you know, this one guy came up with this song. He had this vision for how it would go, and yeah, boy, it takes you on a journey.
And like, as you said in the beginning, like these more fantasy lyrics, like compare this to like the lyrics of the Final Countdown and the albums after.
Yeah,
like they never revisited like these 7 portals to hell. Like these lyrics are just so different to what came after. So I just love that too. Because if you have just heard the Final Countdown, maybe you have heard Superstitious from Out of This World. You've just heard the hits of Europe. Go listen to this album and also Wings of Tomorrow, because Wings of Tomorrow has some ballads and it kind of has some light and shade. But this album is just a straight ahead hard rock album. And I just really do enjoy that about this album. So both Wings of Tomorrow and the debut are really heavy albums.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely recommend to any like very, very casual Europe fans or just people that heard them on the radio 1,000 times, go listen to this album and Wings of Tomorrow, because they are really great. And
Wings of Tomorrow is almost like a bridge between the two eras. But this album stands like, you know, I could picture someone that didn't like anything that came after, but would love this album if they got the chance to hear it and say, I can't believe this is the same band. So very, you know, an impressive song. Like it's no wonder they still do it now, because, and it sounds like it would be a fun song to play live, because it's got all those, it's very dramatic. It's got all those different parts to it. But yeah, you can definitely tell, like in these early days, these guys, you know, reading science fiction and horror and it makes its way into the lyrics.
Yeah. So it's very, very cool song. Very cool song. The next one, The King Will Return, also continuing these like more fantasy or medieval type lyrics. Really cool. I like the lyrics in it, that these people are getting attacked in the night unexpectedly, and then they will have their revenge, and their king will return with gold in his hand, and the castle will burn in the enemy land. Like, I just really do enjoy that. And the melody and the guitar riff during the chorus, I just love that. So great. One of the best riffs on the album. So yeah, really good song. I really do enjoy it. But there's one strange part in it, and I think you know what I'm going to talk about. There's just these like 1 or 2 seconds in the song, and I don't know how to describe it, but it sounds like the whole soundstage has been like shrunken down.
Yeah.
And it's like played through a tin can or something. It sounds really strange. I don't know what that effect is called. You probably know what to call
I don't know
that.
how to describe that. Almost sounds like an error that happened during
Yeah.
the recording, but they're like, you know what, we can't do a better take than this, so just leave it in.
Yeah.
And
It's
the
the
funny
part
thing
when
is,
he sings the king came down the hill, and then it just sounds really, really
yeah,
strange.
I don't think it was intentional. I think it was an error, and recording time and money was running out. Maybe this was one of the last songs they were working on. The funny thing about this song is that this is the closest thing to a ballad that we have on this album. But again, lyrically, it's not at all like that. So
Yeah.
it's got that medieval feel to it. As a matter of fact, well, except maybe Farewell, but all the songs so far have kind of been in that medieval sort of fantasy realm of lyrics.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the instrumental we basically already talked about,
Yeah.
but I do enjoy the melody. I think it's a great melody. So I know, like, realize why they used it. I
Yeah.
understand why they used it, but yeah, I think it's a good song or a good instrumental. But I do prefer the instrumental on Wings of Tomorrow.
Oh, Aphasia, I love that. That
Really, really good.
back when like back in the late, I remember the late 80s, my buddy John and I we both liked Europe, and what we would do is we would have these video game sessions, but we would make these mixtapes of all rock instrumentals, and two that would always go on the tapes would be Switch 625 by Def Leppard
Oh,
and Aphasia by Europe,
yeah.
guaranteed.
What a
So
great combination.
yeah. So if we're playing like the Atari or Nintendo, like we're not do 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 do. So
Yeah.
yeah, Boyzone is good. And it's 2.5 minutes, a short little like sort of break in the album, but it's nowhere near as good as Aphasia. That's
Yeah.
one of my favorite rock instrumentals by anybody. That's just a really, really fantastic song.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
But I think this song or this instrumental doesn't like overstay its welcome. It's very short.
Yeah.
I don't mind it. If it was like 3.5, 4 minutes, yeah, I wouldn't like
Well,
it
yeah,
that
because
much.
there's not enough parts to stretch it out like
Too
that.
repetitive.
Yeah, even Aphasia has that like the drum solo in the middle of it. So yeah, this is a good like I said, it's a good break in the album. I mean, it makes it a 9-song album, and I think we're on to a bunch of really great songs.
Yeah.
On side
Yeah,
two.
the next one is my favorite by far on the album.
Yeah.
Children of This Time. I just love do-do-do-do, I just love that. And you kind of like have two riffs at the same time. You have the do-do-do-do, then you have the do-do-do-do-do-do-do at the same time. Just really, really great. And yeah, love the chorus, love everything about it. Just a great, great song. And another thing, like most of these songs are kind of long.
They are, yeah.
I'm
looking, like the back of this has all the times. A lot of them are 5 minutes or close to it. I mean,
yeah,
it's a 9-song album, but it's not a short album. I mean, other than the instrumental, the shortest vocal song is 3:50. So, this is not
Paradise Bay, right?
Yeah. So this is not, it's not like the early Van Halen albums where they're like barely half an hour long. This is there's a lot going on here, and yet the songs
40 minutes or something.
The songs need to be that length.
Yeah. So I think this is definitely the best song on the album.
I think Children of This Time it's always Children of This Time and the song Wings of Tomorrow, I think, are very similar. They both kick off side 2, and they're both similar musically. I think they both kind of got the same tempo. Children of This Time could have been on Wings of Tomorrow, I think, and it wouldn't sound out of place. Like, I think this is getting closer to what we would know as a Europe sound. But yeah, it's very catchy. I think this is one that they've done this live too in recent years too.
Yeah. And I do think like the guitar solo in this kind of sounds similar to the opening riff in Stormwind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite songs
There's a small part in it that sounds very similar to Stormwind.
And John Norum overall does not get the attention he should for being just one of the greatest guitarists to come out of the 80s. He's got a distinctive sound, and what a great player, and melodic too. He's not just a shredder.
Well, when people speak about like especially Swedish guitar players like that are just insanely talented, that can shred, can do most about anything in rock music, they always talk about Yngwie Malmsteen. Always. So I think people should talk about John Norum more, because I think he's on the same level. We're close to Yngwie at least.
And all anyone has to do is like, well, if I only know the final countdown, listen to the guitar solo in the final countdown. Like it's crazy shredding for such a popular song.
Yep.
So there you go. I mean, that's what John Norum sounds like. He's fantastic. And
Absolutely.
as we would find out later, he's not a bad singer either.
Yeah, I've actually not heard. Is that on one of his solo albums? When
I've only ever heard his first album, Total Control. So he sings some of the songs, and then Goran Edman, who would go on to Yngwie's band, sings on some of the songs. But I mean, John's a perfectly good singer. So that probably, there's another thing about Europe. They got great background, great harmony vocals. And that's probably one of your, one of the secret weapons, right?
Yeah, it might be blasphemy that I have not heard John Norum's solo albums.
I've only ever heard the first one, but I mean,
I've not even heard the first one, so I should check that out definitely, because I didn't know that he sang. So that's cool.
Yeah, he's not a bad singer at all. I mean, he's obviously there's a reason Joey Tempest had that distinctive voice and was able to deliver, but John's a perfectly, like Phil Collin and Def Leppard. He's a good singer when you do get to hear him sing. He's like the secret weapon.
Yep, absolutely. Like almost everybody in Def Leppard are great singers.
Yeah.
Like
now,
Viv is also very good.
I don't know about I don't know on their own about Mick or John Lev. I don't know what they sound like just by themselves, but obviously they. You've seen enough live clips of them. They can do things live. They can pull the background vocals off. So, it's quite an asset when you've got other people in the band that can actually sing, not just play their instruments.
Yeah. Now the next track, Words of Wisdom. This is probably my least favorite on the album. I'm not a huge fan of the chorus. I love the beginning part of it. I think it's a keyboard in the beginning, and I like that melody, and I like Joey's delivery in the verses, but the chorus I'm not a huge big fan of.
There's not much to it.
Just don't.
There's really not much to it. Yeah, it's
very repetitive too.
I will say probably the best thing about it, it doesn't come back too many times, except maybe at the end. But the other songs have raised the bar so much that a song that is just okay, this almost sounds like it could have been a B-side.
Yeah.
One that you'd be glad to finally hear years later, but not one that you'd want as a main running order on the album. But that's a minor criticism. So far, it's been great.
Yeah, exactly. Now we have Paradise Bay, and it's spelled with a C instead of a S.
I was gonna. You don't know? I didn't know if that was a local place, like in Sweden, but it's Paradise Bay. Like I've never understood why they spelled it that way, but what a great song, and it's got that. Like it's a sort of a slower stomping kind of song, but this is another one of my favorites on the album.
Yeah, really, really good. And maybe the same thing as I said about Farewell could be said about this.
Yeah.
The chorus is a bit flat, like the delivery, but I don't mind it as much as Farewell. I think it's still a really good song, and I think the chorus is catchy. It's just that Joey hasn't come as far in his vocal abilities as he would later.
Yeah.
But still, really good song. It's just a minor criticism, but I think it's really, really good otherwise. So,
great.
Catchy
great
song.
Yeah.
Now, the last one, Memories. This has been like I wouldn't say maybe deep cut, but it has been a song that I haven't really, what should I say? I don't think it was too memorable in the beginning when I first heard it, but now I really do enjoy it. I just couldn't remember how it went, but now I do, because I've listened to it countless times now, and I think it's really good.
Yeah,
Really, really good
this is
song.
another song that I think wouldn't have sounded out of place on Wings of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's and the funny thing is that it's kind of similar to Words of Wisdom, whereas that's oh ho Words of Wisdom. This is whoa whoa memories. Like it's kind of similar, but not. But it's also got the shuffle, the gallop, the dun 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 dun. Dun. Yeah, it's a great album closer. I really like it. And I just thought of this too, like as far as you talked about Joey's voice, how it got better, and then when they do the older songs live, correct me if I'm wrong, but did they not re-record Seven Doors Hotel for a B-side of one of the Final Countdown singles, or am I getting that mixed up with something else?
I'm actually not quite sure.
Seems to me that
I love
they
Europe. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not as big of a fan of Europe as I am like Def Leppard or Whitesnake.
Yeah, no, same here. They've always been a
Other
band
than
I've
that.
liked, and I do want to say you've got some of them behind you. Anybody that's ever liked any of these albums, check out the stuff that they did post like reuniting in the 2000s. All of those albums are really good.
One thing I have to say, like I have a friend that recommended a particular album by Europe in the later years and said like, this is one of my all-time favorites. This is really, really great. You have to hear this. I was like, I don't know. But I streamed it and I liked it that much that I bought the album, and it's actually Secret Society.
That's
Such a great
yeah.
album.
I think all of the
Wow.
Last Look at Eden, Bag of Bones, War of Kings, like I think that they've just I don't know why it's been almost 10 years since their last album, Walk the Earth. But yeah, all of those latter day albums are worth checking out. And over here in North America, it's a tragedy because none of those albums came out domestically. You've got to you've got to special order them, and so no one is going to just casually stumble upon it in a record store and go, "Oh, Europe! I didn't know they were still." So that's a real shame. But all those albums are really good. And what's also kind of surprising to me about that, unlike most older bands, that lineup is still intact. The Final Countdown lineup is the lineup that plays today. There's other than Key Marcello, coming in for the 2 albums, and then John Norm coming back. It's been the same guys since their 3rd album, which is almost unheard of. But a lot of these
kind of has the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
Unfortunately, they had a member that passed away.
Right, but it's not like
other than that.
It's not like Whitesnake or anything where there's just people are coming and going all the time. Very, very consistent lineup. But there's nothing for a band to look back on an album like this and say, "Oh, that first album, it's so." No, considering how young they were and they probably didn't have much of a recording budget. This is not a big budget production, although we talked about this, and I was unable to find the original mix of this. But there's great songs. They had songs. You could tell this was a band that was going to make an impact. I don't think any of them could have predicted the impact that the Final Countdown would have. And to listen to Joey Tempest tell it, he wrote that song in 1980 on a Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
So, but great band and a great beginning to their career. I'm so glad that because Out of This World didn't sell quite as well as the Final Countdown in North America, I'm really glad that while they were still sort of a well-known band, that CBS or Epic put this album out so that we were able to hear it for the first time. And I didn't have to wait years and years till the internet to finally hear what their first album sounded like. No, this is a great album. And like I said, you could play this album for someone that swears up and down they can't stand the band Europe. But if they like heavier, like European, like new wave of British heavy metal stuff, there's nothing not to like about this album.
Yeah. And I'm also very glad that they remixed it, because the original mix sounds terrible.
Yeah.
It sounds absolutely dreadful. There is a way to look it up on YouTube. If you search like Europe 1983 vinyl rip, you can actually find someone playing the original Japanese vinyl album, and it does have this cover. So only in Japan it had this cover in 1983. So this is not like an 89 cover or later cover.
That I didn't know that. That's you know what? That makes that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese labels, they would just they seem to have the independence to just do whatever they wanted, and they usually made good decisions when it came to releases. So yeah, okay, that's good. And now that makes sense. Like who does it even say on here who designed that album cover? Because it's a
Yeah, it
great.
does, but I don't remember the name. But I think it is.
There's nothing inside this old CD that
Okay,
says
I'm gonna look in my booklet here, because this is a reissue and it does have more details. So I do think it does say, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm gonna look. It does have the lyrics in it. I don't know if your version has it.
No, see, none of the mine are all Canadian versions, and all they've got is just that one picture, the 4 band photos, and the recording information. And what I've always found
Cover
strange.
design by Camilla B.
Okay,
Photography by Leonard.
Camilla B also did Wings of Tomorrow.
Okay.
If you look inside the credits to Wings of Tomorrow, you'll see her name.
Which is a great cover. I think this cover is all right. I think it's better than just the regular cover with the band members.
Yeah.
But it's not like an amazing cover. But I do think Wings of Tomorrow is a standout.
Wings of Tomorrow is a great, it's one of the great arguments for why I collect vinyl. I mean, it's just to have the big, But I will say another thing that's kind of cool is that from the start, even on the original cover, they had their logo.
Yep. Which is a great logo design also.
Yeah. Love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great album. And it was fun. It was fun revisiting it. Yeah. When I was looking up Europe original mix, original album, it wasn't giving me anything.
You can't search that way. I actually owned the original vinyl, 1983 vinyl, with the original cover with the band members, because it's really easy to find here in Sweden. There's no problem finding that one. But I know probably in Canada it's probably impossible to even find this version.
It'd be hard enough to find the first one now, but to find the original one, I'd have to order it import and probably pay $100 by the time, shipping costs and all that stuff. And I'm not saying I'd love to come across it. That would be really cool to have just as a bonus. But as far as I'm concerned, I've got the album.
Yeah, and also it just sounds dreadful, that version. So you really are not missing anything, because I was only familiar with this version, which is like the 89 remix, whatever. And I bought the original vinyl thinking that it sounds the same.
It's going to sound the same, yeah.
But it sounded terrible. And I was like, is my needle like dusty or something?
Yeah.
It sounded terrible.
So
then I Googled it and I realized on the wiki, it said like there's 2 versions. And I was shocked. I didn't know that.
So you're saying that they really did a great job, like cleaning it up to get it to sound the way it does?
Very good job, because the original sounds horrible.
Wow.
In my opinion. Maybe some people think it sounds all right. It's not a Born Again like situation where it really, really sounds terrible.
Would it be comparable to say like, would it be comparable to say Whitesnake Slide It In, where some people like the European mix, some people like the American mix?
Maybe, but the UK mix of Slide It In sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound muddy. It doesn't. Maybe it sounds weak compared to US version, but it's not a bad recording.
It's not all that. It's not really that different. I think the drums are a little louder, I think, but again, like, the Def Leppard thing just keeps coming back, because when you think about it, On Through the Night, I mean, Tom Allom was a name producer. Like, he was a well-known producer, and yet that first album, you could tell that was recorded on a shoestring budget, but it still sounds good. It's a good recording.
I would say the original version of this album sounds worse than On Through the Night. Definitely. Okay. Way worse.
Probably sounds, I'm thinking it probably sounded more like a demo.
Yeah, it does sound like a demo. So I would say the original version of Europe's 1983 album sounds like a demo almost.
Now, do you know when this album was reissued in North America in 1989, did Sweden and other parts of Europe also get this reissue?
I'm not too sure, because I think the most common version on vinyl is the original 83. But you could look that up on Discogs. I'm not too sure. But this is like a 2013 issue. Yeah. And I think this is an international European whatever version.
Yeah, I've got quite a few.
Sweden or anything.
I've got quite a few music on CD reissues. Like, I've got some, I think we talked about, I've got some Toto ones, and they generally do a good job.
Yeah, and I also have the Wings of Tomorrow, which is also music on CD. Sounds really good too. So So yeah, this was really fun, Tim.
Oh man,
Europe's
I
first
want
album.
to put this album on. Listen to it again, folks. You might not like it, but I think you'd be hard pressed to come away from that saying it sounds just like the Final Countdown. Not at all.
No,
not at all.
no.
That's not a totally different mindset. Even though it's almost the same bunch of musicians, it's very, very impressive for guys probably median age. These guys was 19 or 20.
Yeah, yeah.